What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's Captain Widescreen, aka Jessica here. Let me sit straight because I feel off. Anyways, so we're starting a new series, if you guys haven't realized, called Small Business Series, until I figure out a different title for it. But basically, this series is to go through any sort of retail related topics, whether it be in the beauty space, consumer packaged goods, big box retailers, anything like that, because this is something that I'm interested in. I studied it in school, and I figured I can talk through some stuff that I know a little bit about. So this is my second video that I'm doing. I don't know which one's gonna come out first, depends on how the edits go, but in any case, let's get into it. So today we're going to be talking about the return of Zellers and why Target failed. So to take things all the way back to my childhood, I used to get off of school half days on Fridays, and my grandma would always pick me and my brother up from school, and we would go to Centerpoint Mall. And one of our favorite stores that we used to go into was Zellers. The reason for this for a portion of time was actually because there was a Zellers employee that had the same name as my brother, and they really enjoyed our company. I don't know why, but they loved this little black, family grouping, and I can't complain. But we actually, every time we'd go into the store, someone at the cash register who knew us or recognized us, because we were in every single Friday, would always page this guy to come to the front to come greet us, and sometimes he'd give us little treats or candy or something like that. So it was really fun, until of course he probably moved away for school or quit or whatever else. I've never worked at Zellers, so I don't know what the experience was like working there, and I'd love to hear in the comments down below if anyone did, because I am a little bit curious what the back end experience was like. So that being said, Zellers has always been that store that's sort of in between. So for context, in Canada we used to have like what we would consider three big box department stores. The Hudson's Bay was the top tier, upper echelon level. That's where you could get your designer stuff, get some things a little fancier. Sears, I would say, was more so for the catalog woman. My grandma absolutely loved Sears. We used to get the Sears catalog delivered to her house. She had a Sears credit card. It was a whole thing. They were a little bit more mid-priced department store versus Zellers. Zellers was the more affordable department store of the bunch. However, they faced increasing competition in the 90s due to Walmart's presence in Canada. Of course, Walmart's prices are cheaper. They're able to have economies of scale because they have a distribution center that they can run both through the US and Canada. They are known to match prices, so if the price is lower at some other retailer, they will try to match it. I don't know if that's still continuing to this day, but at the time it was a thing. The company that owns Hudson's Bay and Zellers decided that the best course of action, I believe in 2013, was to close all of the Zeller stores. To be fair, at that point in time, I was probably in my last year or second last year of high school, depending on when the closures actually started or came into effect. So I can't say that I'm surprised, because by that point we weren't going to Zellers every day. I couldn't think of the last time I'd been to Zellers, so we were a little bit sad because it's a piece of Canadian history, it's Canadian business. You never really want to see those fail, but it's hard to compete with US competition, especially when they're able to price cheaper than what Zellers can. 3 stores, I believe, remained open, but they were more so like liquidation stores for anything sold at the Bay. So like overstock items. It almost became what Winners and those type of off-price retailers were supposed to be. I never got to attend the Zellers liquidation Bay sort of stores, but I was curious to see what they were like. So if anyone was visiting any of those, I'd love to hear your story in the comments, or I'll probably post a little TikTok on this. Feel free to stitch it and let me know. Around that time, 2013 to 2015, Target announced that they were going to purchase all the real estate that Zellers previously owned, and entered Canada with Target. Of course, all Canadians were super excited because all you hear from your US counterparts and friends and you see all over social media is these big Target shopping experiences. And I would say for myself, this was the time when YouTube was very, very big around my peer group. So we'd always be watching people do these crazy Target hauls and things like that. And to be fair, even back then, I never really went to Target. I always thought like, okay, like, it's nice, but I don't really get the appeal. Now that I've grown a little bit and, you know, have my own apartment, I could see how you could get lost in Target. It's very easy. Target decided to enter Canada, and they were moving a little fast. They were moving a little quick. So not only did they decide to purchase all of the Zellers real estate locations, they also decided to renovate every single one of them stores because they said that the stores weren't big enough to fit the Target model, which is totally fair and understandable, but they renovated all of them. That's a big undertaking if you're coming into a country for the first time ever, and they had opened 120 plus stores in 10 months, approximately 10 months. It was kind of insane. I went to the Target that was where the Zellers was at Centerpoint Mall, and I was like, girl, this is not good because I get there and there's empty shelves in sections. Like, when I say empty shelves, I don't mean like there was no product on the shelves, because that did exist. Yes, I'm saying I went into the CD section because I was told that I could purchase a certain Janelle Monáe CD and the shelves weren't even set up. How does that work? So I was very confused, but at the time I didn't really know anything about it, so I just kind of left it alone. However, during that time frame, I also entered my first year of university, and in my second semester, we had this big project that was supposed to be, hey guys, let's go and explore Target and what they can do to, you know, fix their Canadian presence and things like that, because like I said, they opened 120 stores in that time. But the biggest issue that they had was supply chain issues, and I think a little bit of overconfidence from the executive team at Target in the US before this even launched. So, for example, as I was doing these different courses and things like that, the first day of this class that I attended was the day that Target announced that they were shutting down all their stores in Canada and they were exiting the Canadian marketplace. Here's some of the issues that I wrote down in my paper, and these are just things because we talk about it all the time. Like, one, you open 120 stores in 10 months. That's ridiculous. And you spent a whole bunch of money to expand retail real estate spaces that may not have been set up the way you like them, but you could have worked with some of them. Two, you didn't take the time to understand the Canadian landscape. For example, the executive team that decided to enter the Canadian market only visited Canada for 4 months. Let's say, for example, just for fun, you decide to visit Toronto for 4 months, and you come in May and you leave in August. 4 months is very warm. You're gonna see some nice weather. You're gonna think, oh, this place is amazing. It's so much fun. But you could do those same 4 months in December to April, and you'll have a totally different experience. It is not the same as the US. We do not have the same amount of people. The other issue is that they thought that they could use their distribution centers and warehousing out of the US, forgetting that, one, there are import costs to constantly driving back and forth between the border, even if it's your own stores, because every retailer will have to do with that because you're crossing a border. Not a state border, a country border. That means all your drivers need to have valid passports or ID. If they're Canadian citizens, they need to have a work permit. If they're able to cross into the US to go pick up their shipments, they also will have to drive very, very far. So for you non-Canadian babes out there who have not studied Canadian geography, Canada is the second largest landmass country in the world. The next biggest country is Russia. For example, the province that I live in, it takes a day to drive from my city of Toronto outside of the province if you're headed west. For example, and I'll put a little map on the screen so you can see, I live here, and it takes a day to drive here. it just didn't make any sense for them to be trying to use their supply chain system in the US to fuel all of Canada. Not to mention the fact that a lot of the big Canadian cities are not as populous as American cities will be. Canada, I think, just hit 5 million, or sorry, Toronto just hit 5 million people population-wise, and this is the city that most people know and assume is the capital of Canada. It's not. They also didn't realize that a lot of them are closer to the border, so when we looked at the prices of Target in Canada versus Target in Buffalo, for example, it was cheaper for most of us to drive across the border, purchase our stuff, and then go back home because the price almost felt like double, which is ridiculous. And the dollar was not as bad or weak as it is now, so there was no reason for that. They weren't grasping the Canadian landscape in interest. Like, we don't really like big box stores the same way. I still hear people complaining about the Canadian superstore, like supercenters, the Walmart hypermarkets, those big bulky stores. They don't really work. Plus, you can't really fit them in a lot of places where Zellers used to be, like Centerpoint Mall, for example. You may think, okay, this is a space that has a ton of apartment buildings nearby, lots of foot traffic because there's constant traffic on the bus and things like that. No, people are trying to get to work. People are trying to go home. People are trying to get to their doctor's appointment or pick up something quick from Centerpoint. I don't have time to be browsing up and down the aisles of Target, not to mention the fact that there's a smaller population, so maybe 120 stores wouldn't have been necessary. That being said, Target, as they did, divested from Canada, and that caused major repercussions for other retailers that were looking at entering Canada, because Target was one of the first big retailers that came to the market since Walmart, I would say. Other retailers have come, but they're usually European. They do take their time. Everyone else seemed to do their Googles and due diligence except for Target. So Nordstrom, for example, when they entered, they said they're planning to open 6 stores to start, and they started off with 1 in Edmonton or Vancouver, I can't remember which one, and then they opened one up in Toronto, and then they opened one up in Ottawa. You see how, like, they waited a little bit, gave it a few months, you know, of course things will be in development, but you gotta see how it goes first before you just start throwing stores out there like it's candy. You can't do that in Canada. We're very suspicious. And also, I don't know if you guys realize this, but Americans, y'all be doing too much sometimes, and you were doing too much when the Target family decided to enter our country. A lot more businesses decided to do a little bit more research before they actually entered the Canadian marketplace. So that being said, a lot of excitement was coming around last year. I don't remember when exactly I saw the first tweet, but if I can find it, I will post it. But news stories started to pop up about the return of Zellers, and every Canadian just felt like a kid again. It just felt like I was thrown back at being like 6 or 7 years old, going to Zellers with my grandma. And there was a lot of excitement, there was a lot of buzz, but you know, we were all a little bit with caution. We had a little bit of trepidation because of the failures that Zellers had before. Like, what type of stuff are they going to be selling? What are they going to bring to the table now that's different than what Walmart, you know, the Bay, or other stores have? Also, Sears closed down in this time as well, so do we really need any more department stores? I mean, personally, I shop online, so I don't really know. I'm not an in-store shopper anymore, but that's more so because of my retail life. I can't do it no more. I'm done. I'm done. But people were still very excited because they were hoping that, you know, the little rides that they had were coming back, little games, and the Zellers food. There's some excitement for a lot of different things. Here's some recommendations that I have for Zellers as they continue to figure out what they're going to be like moving forward. I think you should focus on your new audience, which is people like me who grew up with Zellers that now have disposable income, or children that they might want to experience Zellers with. So I know it's going to be a store within a store at Hudson's Bay, which is definitely helpful for the real estate space. They don't have to pay into a whole bunch of extra new land or pay extra property taxes, which is very helpful. But play up that Canadiana experience, you know? This is a true Canadian brand. It's the same way that when you think of Hudson's Bay and you think of the Olympics, you always think of the denim jackets or the mittens with the stripes on them from the Bay, or the scarves, you know, the blankets, those types of things that are very Canadian and they feel very like us. And we've been very much big on Canadian pride as of the pandemic and post-pandemic life, so I feel like that will be a big help as well. I think you should be on social platforms. If you're not planning on it, you should get on one. And I would recommend to start TikTok. You know why? There's a whole generation of kids who never experienced Target. And they might have been 3 or 4 when these stores closed down, who've never experienced what it was like to not have Zellers in their life, or never experienced what it was like to grow up with something and then it goes away. So for example, I was in the age where I got to experience Zellers, but on the tail end of them failing. But I think I would go. Like, if there's a Zellers at a Hudson's Bay near me, I'm going to be there. I'm very excited to see how this goes and I want to check it out. Hopefully I can vlog the experience, but social media will be a big help into telling people, 1, that you're here, and 2, that you have some fun stuff to do. Get some younger people on your team to manage the social channels. If you need some freelance work, just saying, I'm available. But you should really be playing up that Canadiana aspect because it's part of what we love. While I'm not always a proud Canadian, I am very proud of the retail stores that we do have because it's nice to see Canadian businesses thriving and doing well, and like that bolsters our economy as well. So maybe you should think about getting on some social platforms. I would start with TikTok personally, because that's the easiest place that you can grow as a business without having to do a whole lot. You follow trends, you follow certain sounds, you post your own videos, you can even share some behind the scenes footage. I think it would be really fun to see that. Even if you post it after the stores are launched, I would like to see it, you know? Instagram would also be good for the aesthetic photos, show the retail stores, maybe get your respective store teams to have their own social platforms. Twitter is a big help as well whenever you have like any issues or customer service complaints. I heard that there's going to be an online website. Please make sure that it's good. Canada is not very strong in their online retail presence. You guys have heard about the Shopify closures and various big, I don't know, internet companies like Google and stuff like that are shutting down, or not shutting down, goodness gracious. They are laying off people by the thousands at this point because everyone thought that when the pandemic hit, online business skyrocketed. But as soon as restrictions were lifted, it plummeted right back down. And then we're also dealing with a recession, so maybe make sure your pricing mix is not as ridiculous as the bait can be sometimes, but also something that is affordable to the people that you're trying to reach. I don't know exactly what their target audience is because I haven't seen a whole lot of posts or promotions about Zellers, but I am very excited to see how it goes. So if you guys have also seen or heard anything, feel free to drop your notes in the comments below. If there's anything else that you guys would recommend that Zellers should do to really hit home their Canadian aspect, or even just other things that you think Zellers can do to help themselves get better, I'm open to hearing it. So please drop a note in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I think that's really it. I don't really have too much else written down or anything else that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm also very hungry, so I'm gonna go eat. But if you guys made it this far, thanks so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.